Welcome, everybody, yet another episode of the Wrestling vs. the World podcast. If you're enjoying your day, sweet. If not, what the hell ever. So this is what episode is it? Hard to read. 168, holy crap. So December the March 23rd, 2013 episode of Saturday Morning Slam. That is right. We're getting close to the end, thankfully. So we've already got the show announcing that we're going to see the Great Khali facing Primo and Epico in a 2-on-1 handicap match to start things off. I thought I was experiencing deja vu because I do remember the Great Khali having a match on Saturday Morning Slam, which was like 4 months prior in November 2012, but he faced Primo alone in that match. But I mean, still, same people. And they tried this whole little hype package, but it only reminds me of two things. Number one, the Great Khali for some reason used to hang around with Hornswoggle and Natalya, probably some kind of odd couple three-something there. As well as remind me that Epico and Primo used to be tag team champions together, which I completely forgot. Doesn't matter how long ago it was, I do not remember this reign at all. So we gotta start this show off. The Great Khali with Natalya on his arm versus Primo and Epico in the technically on a 2-on-1 handicap match. And Brad Maddox, he was like the assistant to the general manager or whatever role he was doing at that time, he is on commentary. So yay. 12 years later, after this show's all happening, this period's happening, everything, I still have no clue why the Great Khali and Natalya were paired together, when, why, or any of that shit. I missed the memo on what caused these two to be united. And why aren't Primo and Epico trying to sell me on a trip to Puerto Rico yet? Or am I a bit too early on that one? So, Primo and Epico both right away are getting shoved away with these by Khali, following some collar elbow tie-ups and all that shit. And Epico gets booted into Primo as he's trying to charge at the Great Khali. And then we see a typical thing which gets old, honestly, with the little man going after the legs of the giant. You see this every time. Small guy, giant, just keep going after the legs over and over and over. Like, I get it, it's an effective thing, but it's the same story every time you do this. Whether it be one-on-one, handicap, tag, anything. So, they're trying to dominate on Great Khali, take his legs out, and they try that wishbone spot where, like, the opponent's on their back, they each grab a leg and split them apart. They didn't get the timing on that right, so you didn't get to hurt the Great Khali's quote-unquote tallywhacker. Yeah, I'm throwing in that Jackass reference there. And then they try doing some teaming maneuvers. Primo, he misses the assistant Tope con Hilo into the ring. Epico decides, alright, I'll do a slingshot elbow drop to the Great Khali. He also misses. So Khali gets up. Big boot to Primo, and he decides to put him into the corner. We get the camera cut treatment. Get ready for the Khali chest chop. Get a camera angle change so you see from behind the Great Khali so you miss the impact. And then you repeat where Khali puts Primo in the other corner, another camera cut treatment. And then you also get the camera cut treatment for the chest chop. So I guess, once again, we got more stuff that's deemed to be too gritty and offensive and everything to show. I get it, so we saw this with the head and neck shots because that was expected. But then we find out that arm shots are bad. So you put somebody in an arm wringer or elbow in the arm. Oh, that's hurt. That's bad. But now you're also doing it with a chest chop. You can't do anything on this show without everything being covered up, huh? So then you get to the finish. Epico, he's on the floor. He tries jumping on the apron and sliding in under the Great Khali's legs to kind of do a setup for that whole sunset flip roll up. But the Great Khali decides, drops his legs and sits on Epico, pretty much knocking him out, and that was all he needed to do to pin Epico. So, it's every time they do these, matches involving these giants on the show, you know what to expect. There's a pointless squash, and the finish just comes out of nowhere. It's not as epic as when you saw, Yokozuna do, a bonsai drop, because that almost looked like the best visual I can give for what happened there. But it looked just lackluster. So, yay, Khali wins. Next. Then after the commercial, you get Natalya, who must have rushed backstage in her high heels because it's time for her to interview Saturday Morning Slam GM Mick Foley. Mick praises Natalya for the work she's done with children and recent photos from her trip to Rwanda. I wonder if she stayed in a hotel there. And then for some reason, Foley congratulates Natalya and Khali for the match victory, even though Natalya wasn't a participant. It was just Khali on his own against Epico and Primo, so Natalya should not be getting any credit. She didn't do anything. Neither did Rosa Mendez, who was in Epico and Primo's corner. So then in comes Sandow looking like he just got out of the shower in his robe and towel and shit. claiming that he's offended that Mick Foley was chosen as the GM of the show rather than him. I mean, Sandow, why would you care? It's a G-rated show. I mean, you're basically like Jimmy Neutron. You're characters that you say words that even children don't understand. So, The Miz then also butts in, and he thanks Mick Foley for making him a main character in his recent Christmas book, which I didn't know existed. I'm surprised Christmas even still happened after Santa Foley got hit 3 months prior on Raw by Alberto Del Rio's expensive car. But now, as a result, we're getting an impromptu-ish main event. The Miz versus his future stunt double, Damien Sandow. But then, before we can get to the match, we have to have the Saturday morning spotlight, looking at The Miz, which has a lot of footage just focusing on his Miz TV show. Okay. And then we're also reminded that he used to do the figure for a leg lock. Woo! Why? Why is the better option, thing to say there at this point. So now we get the main event. The Miz versus Damien Sandow. And Sandow, during his entrance, he's cutting a promo. He's pointing out that The Miz, he is a WWE superstar. Well, great. I didn't know that. I was confused thinking he was a superstar in World Wrestling All-Stars instead. So instead of he starring in WWE, he was in WWA. And The Miz, he's also noted as being a movie star and a host of his own show. But Sandow said, basically, despite all that, The Miz sucks, he's a dumbass, and he's weaker than Sandow. Okay, whatever. So, you get the start of the match. It's basically nothing to start. And Sandow, he's trying to silence these Miz is awesome chants and gets rolled up for a 1 count as a result. I mean, let the fans say that they're out of their fucking minds already. So, we also get a rare time where The Miz actually impressed me because he has his wrist lock on Sandow, and Sandow he's trying to do a front roll to reverse out of it, but The Miz rolls through with it too to keep the hold on. Okay, points there. So The Miz, he smashes Sandow with a clothesline and suplex for near fall. Sandow, he blocks a hip toss attempt by The Miz, but then he ducks out of the ring to avoid a punch as we go to break. So he's like, oh, don't punch me, roll out of the ring. Oh, I'm okay. Why? The Miz can't even catch anybody, let alone hit. Okay? So you get back from the break, Miz is getting a back body drop on Sandow. Camera cut misses that jumping corner clothesline move that he does when he hangs there and shit. And then The Miz, he dives at Sandow, gets absolutely nothing, gets chucked over the top rope. So then Sandow, after a bit of showboating, gets out of the ring, throws Miz in, gets a near fall out of that. I don't get how it takes that long. And then The Miz takes Bret Hart's chest first corner bump that he would always take into the turnbuckles. Miz falls down his back, and Sandow decides, let's do a cartwheel. And then that wind-up elbow drop, that elbow of disdain or whatever he calls it for 2. I look at that and I keep thinking to myself, this weird question. Why do a handful of wrestlers have this showboating thing that they got to do before an elbow drop? You saw MVP do it with the whole ball-in elbow drop. You see LA Knight doing it with the whole LA Knight, yeah. Then the elbow drop part. Sandow winding up with the elbow, and then also The Rock with the whole people's elbow stick. Is that supposed to add power to your elbow drop because you're posing and stuff? I don't get what makes that move any more special or painful. So then after that fails, Sandow gets in a downhill stretch on The Miz, which Miz reverses later on with a hip toss to get out of the hold. He gets on the apron and he successfully does that roll-up move that Epco couldn't do earlier on the Great Khali. Gets an ear fall out of it. Neck breaker on Sandow. Sandow, he's trying to come back by avoiding a figure for a leg lock by booting The Miz away. The Miz, he takes another corner bump chest first and rolled up for an near fall. And then The Miz magically bounces back with a single drop kick to Sandow's knee. And the figure for a leg lock makes Sandow tap out. You know what that's reminding me of? It's reminding me of Jericho versus Ric Flair at SummerSlam 2002, where the good guy won with the figure for a leg lock, despite barely even doing anything to the other guy's leg to try to make that move more effective. I mean, that doesn't exactly make the bad guy look good if he's easily tapping out to a move that's done on a body part that wasn't even weakened in the first place. Like I said, The Miz did one move to Sandow's leg, and that was enough. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. But that's not all, because we got one more thing to close off the show. Backstage talk between Tyrus and Tensai, who meets with Mick Foley, who's talking about last week's dance routine. I do not need a reminder of that. He's like, hey, why don't you guys teach me your dancing moves? Then the primetime players, they come in, throw a flag on the play while whistling so loudly that my right ear passes out. They're saying, oh, you guys are just a couple of dancing hip-hop hippos that hijack food from birthday parties of children. I mean, whether or not that's true, I would like to see some footage like them just running through a fence, being like, cake! And then they start arguing who can do better dancing, millions of dollars, and all that shit. And Mick decides, all right, that's enough. This is stupid. You guys have a match next week. Because initially he's saying, you two teams are going to have a match right here. And Tenzo's like, wait, right here in the spot? No, in the ring! You're not having a backstage brawl, okay? So next time, we're getting the primetime players versus tons of what the funk. I don't know. Yeah. This episode was not impressive. Like I said, the handicap match, it was a given what was going to happen and just waste time. And the Miz Sandow could have been something, but I mean, that finish just felt so abrupt and didn't feel worth it. You know, one target to the leg, and then one move to the leg, and then all of a sudden, figure four, oh, he taps out. Oh, he did so much damage with one drop kick that made the figure four leg lock on you unbearable. Like, clearly, the Miz was not watching back on tapes involving Ric Flair back in the day. You gotta work on that body part to weaken it more to where that hold is a lot better. So anyway, that is gonna settle for this episode of Saturday Morning Slam. I was about to say main event. That's a different show. Let me know what you all thought in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's episode, folks, please remember, leave a like, subscribe with the bell, turn on if you're listening to this on YouTube, or follow if you're listening to this podcast on any other service that this podcast is available on. And I will catch you all in the next episode. And like I said, at the end of July, this Saturday Morning Slam series will finally be done. So thanks for listening, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, and good day, everybody.